Five main players in the market. None of them dominated. They were all limited by the amount of funding they could get to pay for the crop that they needed to accumulate for export. And the container trade, which had grown to about 2 million metric tonnes a year after it was deregulated earlier, seems to have been maintained, and a lot of the containers are coming into this area. I'll skip through these are a few of the responses to some of the problems which you can read about in the booklet. One major issue has been that the export facilities are controlled by three major corporations, and clearly they could block the aspirations of other exporters who need to use their facilities. So there is the competition regulator is now requiring transparent and fair access to the facilities. There are still very big challenges in the future, particularly in the years of big crop production. Our rail infrastructure in particular is very run down. We have new railways, but they're all private ones for carrying iron ore and coal. The public rail system is very run down. And we had, particularly in West Australia this year, too many promises of shipping times which could never be met with the logistics available to load the ships. So that'll need better coordination in the future. If we now look at oilseeds, our number one oilseed is canola, followed by cottonseed. And again, we're very dependent on water, and we don't have a lot of it. And we've had two very low production years in the current decade. And this table here will show you how variable our oilseed production peaked in 10 years ago, and I'm not sure we'll ever get back to those levels again in the foreseeable future. We're a significant not producer but trader of canola, and it is one of our major broadacre crops and our dominant oilseed. Cottonseed depends very much on irrigation water, and production is very variable depending on how much irrigation water can be released. Sunflower is quite minor. Soybean is very minor. We did have a large crop harvested in May, June this year, but it was only 100,000 tonnes. But we are exporting a bit I believe into Malaysia, but I don't think Australia represents any great threat to the big soybean meal, the soy producing countries. We're a major meat eating country. Historically, beef was our number one meat, but about 2 or 3 years ago, chicken kept rising and overtook beef, which has been falling steadily. And these are our current meat consumption figures. From a feed point of view, there's been big growth in our lot feeding beef for the domestic market and for the Japanese and Korean export market. Dairy industry has changed to a lot more concentrate feeding, which has taken a great amount of feed. And then we come in with the chicken industry, number 3 in the feed. Our pig industry has been in decline because of competition from importation and falling consumption. Our feed industry is about a 12 million tonne industry. From a feed point of view, we're mainly a wheat using because of our big wheat industry. That is a major grain, and in certain geographical areas, sorghum is a major grain. We like to use wheat as a pellet binder, and we find very good performance with wheat and enzymes. But we nutritionists do change feed composition greatly to take account of price and availability of different grain types. We are still allowed to feed animal protein meal, but not ruminant to ruminant. And because of our large beef industry, we have plentiful supply of meat and bone meal and blood meal, tallow, etc. And because of that, we're not a major soybean meal user compared to the size of our feed industry. We use animal byproduct and our locally crushed oilseed meals, the mid-pro as we call them, the lower protein, lower quality ones. But we use more and more soybean meal. I think mainly because buyers in the region will pay more for meat and bone meal than we tend to think it's worth ourselves, and we're tending to export more meat and bone meal and import more soybean meal. Just a brief update on what is happening in the grain business. One of our major grain handlers and marketers and traders, ABB Grain, is in the throes of a friendly takeover bid from Viterra in Canada, and tomorrow is a key day where the Australian shareholders vote on the scheme that's been put forward, and there's a reasonable likelihood that the merger will not go ahead. ABB Grain has been investing in New Zealand, and one of the major soybean meal importers was acquired by GrainCorp last year, GrainCorp being one of the major grain handlers. We had some discussion yesterday about the importance of biotech to achieve competitive production of grains. We still haven't won the consumer, or at least the Greenpeace concerns about biotech, even though we've had biotech cotton for a very long time. Our meat products don't have to be labelled as having been fed on biotech raw materials. We've now got biotech canola in the second year of production, and that will become more prevalent in our food chain. We've had biotech soy coming into the country for many years now, and that really doesn't appear to be much of an issue anymore with Greenpeace. So I think we've nearly reached the end of the concerns about that. We have an interesting future, which was discussed yesterday and by